I'm Mike.
Hi, and I'm Fiona.
We're a newly retired expat British couple living in the USA. We're on a mission to visit all 63 US national parks. Please mash the like and subscribe button to follow along on our journey. Well, while we were in Cleveland last night, we got a bit of a rainstorm at camp, and it rained for several hours. We'd put the chairs away behind the netting and our shoes as well, but of course the netting wasn't waterproof, so they got pretty wet, didn't they?
They did. But they'll dry out really fast. We cleared off the table apart from the stove and the water jug and the coffee pot, but that can get wet. It's made to get wet.
We did make a mistake and left a little flap open. We have sort of a window for some air at the back of the tent, and that was left open, so there's a bit of water got in there, but otherwise the tent was fully waterproof.
It might have been better if we'd tied the tie ropes too, but oftentimes we don't put those if it's not too windy. We don't tie the flap down, this bit here. See, we just left it hanging.
We're packing up to leave our KOA campground that's in Streetsboro, Cleveland, Ohio, and we've been without shore power for 5 days. Our cooler is still working fine, holding there at 33, 34, but we are right down to 3% on our Bluetti power pack. So our Bluetti is sucking fumes and looking forward to us getting on this 6-hour drive to Illinois today. Here's the Indiana Dunes campsite, but this is a walk-in site, so we're not quite parked next to the tent. We've got a little path, but you can see not too far to carry our stuff up to where the truck is parked on a little lot here at the end of the path. Here we are in the Indiana Dunes National Park in the Dunewood campground, and the coffee is on and percolating. But I've got to show you this. This is our toaster that we bought fully 30 years ago in 1996 in Montreal, Canada. And we got it from Le Baron, which I looked up, it's subsequently closed. But not only is the toaster still functional, the packaging is still just about intact after 30 years. How about that? Here's a typical scene at our breakfast table at camp. There's me with my MacBook Pro and my big lens. I'd read that the Indiana Dunes National Park was particularly biodiverse. In fact, number 4 out of 63 national parks on the biodiversity scale. And certainly over breakfast we heard many birds singing, so I got the big lens out and took some pictures. We then jumped in the truck and went down to the marsh area where we found a bald eagle's nest and a family of sandhill cranes. We also came across a pair of trumpeter swans. We're on a trail in the Indiana Dunes National Park. I'm sure there's some people would question why Indiana Dunes is even a national park, but really, I think I would say, why didn't they make it one sooner? Because had they have made it a national park 50 or 100 years earlier, then we would have protected this beautiful shoreline on the Lake Michigan. But no, people had built houses and actually built a state park, so the national park is kind of a mess of non-contiguous lumps of national park interspersed with houses, commercial buildings, state park The pockets that are the national park are really quite beautiful, and they're a fantastic habitat for all sorts of wildlife. We've had a lot of fun spotting wildlife on this visit. So it's spring here in Indiana Dunes, and the wildflowers are out. Quite a large variety of wildflowers as we walk up the dune. It's a bit of a super secret path we're on here, unmarked on most maps, but we're assured that this is a worthwhile trip to see the lupins on top of the dunes. I think the ones in the sun have probably died off or gone to seed, but the ones in the shade are doing well, still flowering. This probably wasn't what you were thinking when we said Indiana Dunes National Park, but the dunes are actually quite old, of course, and they're covered in trees. They're really forested here, not like the ones in the Outer Banks where there's just a few wisps of grass on them and they're moving all the time. These are pretty permanent, and people have built on them over the decades. This is more like what I was expecting from sand dunes. It's pretty hard going underfoot, isn't it?
It is. I noticed some people were in their bare feet.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah. Does feel like you take 2 steps forward and 1 back. But yeah, this is more like what we're expecting. You can see the boardwalk steps going up to the dune. Well, this is it, the Dune Succession Trail. And it does look like a bit of climbing. We're up for it.
We're up for it. Let's go.
Excuse the heavy breathing. But I think we're at about 100 steps at this point.
100 here. 164, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69.
What was it?
169 steps. We were both overestimating.
Yeah. Wow. There's no more steps.
Only
you
down.
stood in front of like at least 100.
Only down.
All right, we're doing the loop.
Hardly see Chicago now.
Yeah, last night it was clear, wasn't it? But today, just so much haze. You can just barely make out the silhouette of the skyline of Chicago on the other side of Lake Michigan.
As we're walking along, we can now hear the lake, the waves on the lake. I nearly said ocean, but it's a lake.
Just like walking over the dunes in the Outer Banks of North Carolina, except that instead of the Atlantic Ocean, we have Lake Michigan. And as picturesque as this scene is, we have the steel mill just up the coastline, and probably some power plant or steel mill down to the west as well. Still can't fault this beach. It's clean, some waves and fresh water, of course.
No sharks. I said no sharks.
Oh yeah, no sharks.
No sharks.
Is there anything to worry about in a Great Lake? Probably there's probably some pike or something, or
some bacteria.
Oh yeah, probably some poop from the cities on the shores.
So thank you, National Parks, for saving this beautiful part of Lake Michigan from all the industry that would come in if it wasn't a national park.
Dead right. Well, Fiona's gone off to do her ablutions for the evening, but we had a pretty great evening by the fire in Doonwood Campground. We got an early get up in the morning to head over to Chicago for the Cubs game, but we've really had a blast here in Indiana Dunes National Park. We made it to Addison on the red line of the L, and here we are just at the outside of the Wrigley Field Stadium for the Cubs game against the Astros. So we've left the Chicago pizza joint, Lou Malnati's, right?
Yeah,
Was it any good?
it was excellent. I'm not sure what I was eating.
No,
I've never eaten pizza like that before.
I know Chicago pizza. It's a flan. It's a tart, open tart, right? No, I don't mean in a pejorative sense. I mean it's just an open tart with like cheese and sausage and
Yeah.
but we call that a flan, right?
But the tomato sauce was on the top.
It's all
The
wrong.
cheese was underneath.
Well, we did recover from that assault on our preconception of what a pizza should be, and went on to the Second City comedy show for a night of impromptu comedy, and then navigated the L back to our hotel. Well, let's recap on our journey so far. We left Newport News, Virginia. We went northwest to Shenandoah, had a couple of days there. Then we went northwest again to Cleveland. Then we went due west to Chicago. Well, Indiana Dunes first and then Chicago. And we've just left Chicago, so we've done about 1,300 miles, mostly making progress towards Alaska, which of course is pretty much northwest of Virginia. So making good progress, but our next stop is in Kentucky.
So we're traveling down the 65. We've gone through Indianapolis. Next we'll go through Louisville, and we are now traveling south. When Michael planned this, I admit he has done most of the planning. I thought I'd put everything on a map so I could see what our route was, and I'd get to know more about the states, and I'd see where we were going. And that's when I realized that we were actually going to be traveling probably 650 miles out of our way to get to Alaska.
Yeah, you weren't very happy about that. But in my defense, when we first conceived the trip, we were going to go up north in and across to Alaska and the north end of the country, and visit those northern national parks in Voyageurs and Isle Royale. And then I realized it would just be too cold in May to do that, so we skipped those. And we also thought maybe we'd come back down south and we could mop up these national parks in the southern Midwest on the return trip, but we changed our mind on that as well. So we've ended up trying to fit them in on the way out there, which has left us, admittedly, going a little bit out of our way.
So when he says we're going to mop them up and we thought it was a good idea, I was not involved in that at all.
Well, yeah, it was my fault.
You would just say, so Fiona, so what do you think about the campsite in Mammoth Caves? And I said, that sounds good to me, but I did not know. I should have realized, because Kentucky is a bordering state to Virginia. So we've gone a long way away from Virginia, and now we're going back towards Virginia on our trip to Alaska.
But we're also going to go even further away, because once we've popped up to the Gateway Arch in St. Louis, we're going to head south again to Arkansas and see the Hot Springs National Park, Arkansas.
Yeah. So I can't say anything else about that.
No fear
Apart
though.
from the fact it is a long way out of our route to Alaska.
After that though, we're heading hard northwest. And we're in Mammoth Cave, Kentucky. Here's our campground and setup. It's threatening to rain over the next couple of days, so we've put up our little kitchen tent in addition to our regular tent. Last night we got our campfire lit at about 8 o'clock, and then it started raining on cue, and it's rained all night. It must have put down an inch of rain. It's let up now, so I'm getting up. It's about 6 o'clock in the morning. Let's see whether we did any damage. Certainly completely dry in the tent. Shoes have fared better. Ooh, dry shoes. All seems well. We put our chairs in the pop-up tent. Of course, the big attraction in Mammoth Cave National Park is the cave itself. It's the largest cave system in the world at 426 miles. We had joined the historic tour. We had this ranger, Matt and Becky, who led us and a group of 110 other visitors on a walking tour through the cave system. It was about 2 miles and 2 hours. 110 people is a pretty big group to keep together in check, informed and moving, so it was a pretty slow affair. But it was fun. We squeezed through a few sections and ducked through a few sections. This is a limestone cave system, so not many stalactites and stalagmites, but there were some fantastic sinkholes and internal waterfalls, and some 100-year-old plus graffiti that we saw on the roof. Once we got above ground, we went on a hike, this one the Cedar Sink Trail. It took us to a sinkhole, which is one of the features that creates this underground cave system. Well, we're heading away from Mammoth Cave. We just had one day there, but did a lot. We're heading to the next national park, park number 45, which will be the Gateway Arch in St. Louis. So what do you make of Mammoth Cave National Park, Fiona?
It was very busy. It's a very popular national park. Obviously we did the Mammoth Cave tour, we did the historical 2-mile round trip tour, and the cave is very impressive.